All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Hands On. My name is Alana from the Innovation Cluster, and for those of you that aren't familiar with the Innovation Cluster, we're a not-for-profit organization that supports startups working in innovation. So we do so by offering advisory services and access to partners and workshops such as this one. We encourage you to apply if you have an innovative idea or a startup working in technology. You can apply at www.innovationcluster.ca. So again, welcome to Hands On Market Research, finding your product market fit effectively. Today, we have my colleague and innovation specialist, Camila Duarte. She's going to be facilitating the session. So today, she's going to go through defining your market research approach, creating and implementing a customer-centric approach, and showing you how to put it all together. Something to note is that this is part one of 2 sessions. The second workshop will be about applying everything you learned today and how to do it effectively, even when you don't have a large budget. So topics covered in part 2 will be agile sprints and how it can help you in conducting your market research and iterate your product and service better. You can expect this workshop in the new year. So now I'm going to pass it over to Camila.
Thanks, Alana. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our hands-on workshop today. I'm very happy that you are all here. It's 12:02, so I'm just going to get started. I know some people are logging in still, but they can catch up with us. So we are going to talk about all things marketing and product development and market research. And we're going to start with the most important piece, which is the market research one, and how it ties to your product market fit. So we are going to talk about the types of market research, how you can do it, and what the best methods are, how you're going to deliver those, and how that's related to your product market fit. It's a great session, especially if you like research, but if you don't, please bear with me. There are a lot of interesting things for your business. So just let's get started by introducing myself, a little bit about me and why I'm giving you this workshop and why we're sharing this kind of information. I'm the innovation specialist at the Innovation Cluster, as Alana mentioned, and I have worked in startups in Montreal, Toronto, and Melbourne for the last couple of years. I see some faces that are familiar, so welcome to our clients, and some of these things you have already seen in our internal workshops, so bear with us as well. I'm a longtime passionate learner and reader and entrepreneur, and I have my own initiative as well. And I'm here just because throughout the last 4 or 5 years, I've been working with startups in a lot of product development. And the thing that entrepreneurs kind of struggle the most is that product market fit, that finding the target customer that at the right product at the right time to offer and be able to position themselves where they want. So that's what we want to talk about today, and we are going to just get started. What I hope you get out of today is basically, I want you to define your research approach. And I say this because that is your baseline to get your product market fit, and you will understand that in a couple of minutes. And also, I want you to understand how to choose your market research approach that is going to define your foundational target persona and journey maps that we will talk about later on. And also how put all together to find your product market fit, right? That's what we all hear. You are all entrepreneurs. If you're here, most likely, you know a business, you are struggling with a lot of things, finding the right and perfect customer. So we're going to look at all that. So just let's start by reviewing what is product market fit, so we are all on the same page. Product market fit is often referred to as product market, and it happens when you have successfully identified your target customer and are serving them with the right product, right? So after achieving product market fit, the next step is to scale by finding more customers within your target market through research, right? User feedback, interviews, and so on and so on. So the goal of the product market fit is really on the relationship with your customers. And that's how I want you to look at it from now on. Your product market fit doesn't have to be complex. It's just how how you own those relationships, how much you know your customers, right? And because you need to truly understand your target customer, that is what is going to help you to successfully achieve your product market fit. And in order to gain the most relevant customer insights, you need to adapt your research approach to fit the product life cycle. So I'm going to focus on the research approach, and at the end, a little bit of the target customer, just because 98% of entrepreneurs we're working with right now, they forget about the research approach. They just want to go sell the product, target a customer that might not be the perfect for them, and just start selling. And most likely it's not going to work. So in principle, you can measure product market fit with surveys that identify what percentage of your users think your new product is a must-have, maybe. But more often than not, product market fit is less about kind of hypothetical numbers and percentages, and more about in-depth and tangible understanding of who your customers are and how they feel about you and your product. So it is about creating organic growth where people spread the word on their own. Are people willing to pay for your product? If they are, you have a product market fit. And so the road to product market fit is often driven by finding customers via word of mouth before you build a marketing engine to scale user acquisition, right? And that's where sometimes we go right away. We just want to acquire new customers and just sell and all this, and that's it. But it's more complex than that. And so as a startup or early stage company that I can see that some of you are here, your product or your service will probably satisfy a small segment of the market, hopefully a good market. And so as you grow, so your understanding of the problem you are solving, and with this understanding, your customer profile might evolve. So establishing a relationship with your customers and talking to them over and over and over again is crucial if you want to develop this understanding in the first place. So this is the formula. This is the winning formula I want you to remember. But the first part is the one that's going to make the product market fit works. If you choose a wrong research approach, or if you're not asking the right questions, most likely you won't find your product market fit. So how do you know if you find the product market fit? The magical moment happens when three things are happening at the moment. So first, you have existing users recognizing your product's value. They tell others about a great experience with the product, and your company replicates the excellent experience for the new users. So a simplified definition is in the name, right? Your product fits into the market and is where it's supposed to be, and you grow your business because of it, right? So question for you, does anyone know this logo that it's there on your screen? Yeah, I see some yes, awesome. So the CEO of Spotify, thank you, Medrat, recognized that many of the necessary pieces for the product market fit for Spotify were already in place when music sharing platform Napster, I hope you know about Napster. If not, that's another story. But the important thing is that this company collapsed in 2001, and the content of that kind of platform already existed. Mobile devices they were staying for distributing music, and Napster at the time had amassed kind of a sizable market for users. So the CEO banked on the possibility that this market of users would pay a small fee for legal access to the music, and he was right. So as of Q4 in 2020, Spotify had 155 million paid subscribers. And it all started by saying, okay, what are the pieces that do we have right now, and how are we going to make this product market fit based on what it's out there and the research they did. So how do you know if you are close or far finding it? So basically, it is believed that companies who have achieved this ideal state can feel it because money is piling up and investment bankers are staking out the company and investment bankers are piling in too. So, but on the other hand, companies who haven't achieved this product market fit can feel it because maybe word of mouth isn't spreading, or deals aren't closing, or press review or testimonials are kind of flat. So this is why you must start with a lot of work on market research, because again, we go back to the goal and you want to own those relationships with your customers. So I have laid out 4 types of research approach, which is going to give you kind of the why and how you can start this process for your product market fit. It can help you, these 4 approaches can help you through all the stages of your product life cycle, whether you are looking to identify your customer, validate your value proposition, or maybe get product feedback or scale your customer base, whatever is needed, you can do it through these research approaches. It's very different to go and do a product market fit when you have your market target clear. Then it's very different to do when you have, or you need your customer insights clarified, or you need to change your branding, or you need to do a win-loss analysis. So different approaches will shape your research approach, will shape your customer persona, hence the product market fit will vary or not. So this is the main important thing that I want you to take from this slide, is what type of research you're needing right now. What is what you're missing? And then you can start asking yourself about the target audience. So who needs my product and service? Where can I connect with these people? Where do they are? If they're looking for answers in certain topics, like Spotify users before Spotify was a platform, where were they? Where were the people who wanted to listen to music, like iTunes and download music, streaming? Where were they? And also you should ask the what would be different if they pay you? What is this promise that you're going to show them? And how are you going to validate it? Up to now, it's all hypothesis. So you just want to validate your hypothesis, right? And in order to do that, you use market research. And again, this is so crucial, but most of entrepreneurs want to skip it. Maybe they feel overwhelmed, maybe it's too much time, too much work, but this is what you have to do. So market research is one of the most crucial aspects of running a successful business. And you know that no matter how amazing your product or service is, without understanding your buyers, it's going to be tough for you to make a difference in the marketplace, right? So when you're first getting started, you should know that there are 2 kinds of market research, primary and secondary. And we are going to focus on primary research, which means, collecting insights directly from people. How can you do it efficiently and productively and not spend a huge amount of your budget right now? And so the primary methods will be the most valuable for you because they're designed to answer specific questions you have about your customers and your business, right? So that is important to know. In the primary market research, you have qualitative research and quantitative research. And I want you to know right away that if you're an early stage startup, you definitely need to start with qualitative research. Forget about service, forget about data analysis. That's not going to get you, like, numbers are very pretty, but at different points, right? Right now, you just want to focus on the emotional, appealing, deep down feedback from your potential customers. Okay, whether that's in the form of interviews, focus groups, whatever, primary methods will be the most valuable for you because they're designed to answer those questions that I already mentioned. Okay, so the secondary research, I hope that you all know a little bit more and you can Google it, as we all say in these days. And there are a lot of resources that you can use: Statistics Canada, Census, tax records, electoral statistics, newspaper, a bunch, and I'm going to give you so many resources today that there's not going to be excuse for you to not do this part of your product market fit equation. So what do you think? Should you start with primary or second research? And you can, and Alana can send the Zoom question, the poll, to see what people think. All right, so you can go ahead. And what do you think? Secondary, primary, what do you think? Secondary, okay. Yeah, okay, most of you are saying secondary. Some of you said primary. Right, so thank you for answering that. And so no, you start with primary. Okay, we typically start with secondary, sorry, because that has already been done and published. So this is great for getting industry insights before kind of diving deep into learning about your specific customer. So you want to go to Google, you want to go to the newspapers, you want to go to all those resources just to make sure what you're looking at and what you don't have available, right? So Alison, you're right. So that's great. That's awesome. So let's start with the qualitative research that, as I said, is one of the most important things. And in market research, participants often say one thing and do another. So that means that when you ask someone describe what they would do, it's notoriously unreliable. So focus groups are perfect in some situations. So when let's say you start to brainstorming and you want to brainstorm ideas directly from your target audience. Let's say you're a tech company interested in what new features you haven't thought of. So people might suggest for your app. So focus groups are perfect from brainstorming new ideas. They're also a good option when you're starting from scratch and getting to know your customer. You don't know it yet. And so with a focus group, you can invite your customers to tell you about the experience with your company or describe how they felt during interactions with your brand, and so on and so on. And also you can consider this type of market research if you want to know how the public will react to a new product or a situation, because hearing people discuss their reactions and bounce ideas of each other helps to kind of measure what emotions or a new product or a situation might bring up. So they won't give you answers, but they will help you gather ideas and measure shared sentiments. So consider a group for those on early stage startups as a good starting point. Okay. Next, we have interviews. So the number one way to improve your business or product is very simple: ask your customers. Now, I know customer interviews can be nerve-wracking, but stick with me. It's all about mindset, actually. People love to talk about themselves. Have you noticed? And themselves and their experiences. And guess what? Your customers are people. If you can direct their chatter toward your research goals, you'll be able to uncover deep insights quicker than you ever thought possible. And I will give you very much a lot of different ways to do this. But again, we go back, and I'm going to repeat this because I want you to think differently about these interviews and market research, other than, oh, that's too much work or it's too hard. It's just, how can I own the relationship with my customers? We want to create a customer-centric approach, and then the interviews, the one-on-one interviews with your users and customers will help you identify problems, generate ideas, improve your product, and build relationships. So it also forms the basis for your initial thinking around customer segmentation. Enter customer persona, enter market segmentation, all that. But reaching out to them directly can be difficult and feel weird at the beginning, but the more you do it, the better it gets, the easier it gets, the more comfortable you are, and the better your business will do. So a couple of do's and don'ts. So first of all, and you will hear me repeating this about the goal every single slide, because it is the basic thing that most of us don't do. So make sure you know what your goal is going into the interview. Write down what you want to learn about your customer. So start with the outcome rather than, demographics and your questions. Because knowing the goal, as I said on your research approach, is it the brand? Is it the product? Is it about your customer? What is it? You will naturally start to ask more targeted questions that way. So your interview shouldn't feel like an interview. It should feel like a conversation. And you want to ask questions about the person, not your brand, and start with easy questions, right? Try to reflect back on what they have to say. And even if it's just an emotion you're picking up on. Also, try to never talk more than you listen. And this is hard for all of us. Some of you really like to talk, some of you may not. But when you're interviewing someone, the whole point of an interview is to hear the customer. So you don't want to interrupt them, or you don't want to guess what they're saying. You want to observe everything they feel and they think. Another good thing is try to avoid the use of the word why in your questions, because it tends to come across as kind of attacking, and participants sometimes get defensive. So instead of saying, why did you choose that? You can ask, what made you choose that? Or how did you decide to choose that? So try to come from a place of curiosity, and they'll be happy to answer any questions you throw at them. And also, don't forget to pilot your interview questions. You can think right now it's easy, but it's not. Designing the interview, preparing the questions is the hardest part, is the one that takes the longest, not the participant finding piece. You want to make sure that it makes sense, and then it flows, it has a flow, okay? So what kind of questions you should be asking about for your product market fit? You need to ask questions about your customer's background, who they are, where they work, what does a typical workday look like for them, what your customer is trying to do, so what pain points they experience, what they are doing to solve them, or what solutions they have tried. I give you a personal example. I'm a life coach specifically for women. And when I was building my customer persona, I asked, okay, where are these women are looking for help? Where are they that they feel stuck and frustrated and maybe depressed and bored and don't know what to do with their life? So where are they is a great question to solve and to shape your product market fit, right? If you appear there and you appear as a potential solution for them, you're already winning, because that means that you know them very well. Also, you have to ask questions about how your product might help, how they heard about it, how they're using it, whether or not they found ways of using it with other tools, etc., etc. And if you say, I have no idea about interviews, I've never done interviews in my life, don't worry, I got it. This book is so good for all types of questions, and specifically your market research and product fit market quest. So I'll send it to you. It's a very good resource if you need to start building a list of customized questions, and you can use a mix of multiple choice and open-ended questions. But you should really set up like a system for your team or yourself to report and store all customer needs and problems and answers. These questions are going to give you so much about your product and what you need. Okay, so you should also pay attention to the feature requests and the complaints about your product functionality or website usability. Use them as a signal that there's something for you, and there's something for you to learn about demand and begin a conversation. Every single time you have the opportunity to start a conversation with a client, go deep in it, be curious about it, because that's what's going to help in the end. talk about how and why your product is working or not. We'll help you to work out useful solutions, which may or may not mirror those requests or changes your customer had suggested in the first place. So as you work towards your product market fit, you will eventually use this knowledge to inform your marketing strategy. But don't do it this assuming. Never assume anything. That is a huge mistake for entrepreneurs. You never assume, you always test, measure, iterate, do, test, measure, iterate, do. And this is a cycle that never ends, basically. Okay, so are there any questions? Am I going too fast? Everything is clear so far. Just having a, yes, I love the thumbs up, Dimitri and Laura. Thank you. All right, awesome. So far, I think everyone is doing good. I don't see any questions over the chat. Okay, that's good. Right, so another type of research is the image-based interview. So our brains tend to link emotional moments with visuals in our minds, and the research have figured out how to leverage these connections. So image-based interviews are just a visual way. It's almost like your interviews, but you ask for some prep work and you look for trends. And once you've interviewed 5 to 10 people, they should begin to organically appear, those trends. And with this simple research technique, actually, you'll be able to design, price, position products that taps into emotions that matter and bring value to your customers and boost your bottom line. So you really want to think about this, and if it's useful for you, you should really go for it. This is another big one for those of you in the tech and the app, in the design of application, etc. So in the first year, Amazon invested 100 times more in usability testing than they did in marketing. And according to Jeff Bezos, this was a strategy that led Amazon's success. So usability testing, we use it a lot when we're working on applications and landing pages and the UX design and the format of certain tech apps. But this is done when we already have a website application or at least a prototype. It doesn't have to be nice. It just needs to be a prototype. And we want to show how audience might use it. So these are like one-on-one sessions, and all you need to start seeing trends is just a handful of participants. And research shows that you don't get a sizably better results by testing more than 5. So that's good because you only have to find at least 5 people. And then you test in increments. And then you fix and you test and you fix the major issues and you test again. And it's not complicated at all. It doesn't have to. So it's really, really, really useful for you that are building MVPs, right? So let's say you're building an app, you want to build new features and need customer feedback. Which qualitative method will be the best to use if you have a website platform already built? So Alana is going to ask you that over the poll, and let me know what you think.
Camilla, that poll for that question just isn't available. So let's just put it into the chat for now.
All right, awesome. So what kind of qualitative method you think you would be using from the ones I explained? Anyone? Thanks, Jillian. Yes, usability testing. I'm glad that you're getting it, because we don't want to oversee these methods, right? We want to get to what the customer will react the easiest, the fastest, and stays in that type of application. So definitely usability testing there are a lot of resources online, but I'm going to give you some, but it's a great way to improve your technological application or website, whatever it is. And then, so I'm going to just go very quickly through the quantitative method, because service, it's a relatively quick and inexpensive way to get that data from a large population. But this is when you already know your customer a little bit. This is for more advanced startups or entrepreneurs. I don't recommend to start with a survey research when you are an early stage startup. I truly believe in interviews, so you should start with interviews before anything else, okay? But survey research is often used to explain trends or features of large groups, and it gives you handy numbers and pretty charts, but we're more focused on emotions and what people think, right? So the best practices for planning a survey, again, determine your goal. Then you can create questions in a systematic way. You'll avoid duplicates. You create a logical flow. And if a survey is too long, well, it's no longer worth their time. We receive so many emails right now that it's really hard to pick and choose what are you going to do. So ask yourself what questions are the most important and put those critical questions first, right? And be as specific as possible in your asks. For example, instead of saying, oh, how web savvy would you rate yourself? Maybe you can ask how many times a day they stream music, watch videos, listen to podcasts, play game, bank, and shop online, right? Completely different. And you get so much more information that way. So that's another great way to get feedback from your customers. There's the data analytics, where it's all about web analytics, search analytics, and social listening. You know, Vespa Scooters set a great example when they wanted to attract more customers. So using analytics, they found that Vespa owners posted far more on topics related to style, fashion, architecture, design, and art. So instead of blogging just about scooters, Vespa started writing about these topics, right? And in just 3 months, they got 50,000 more visitors to their site, many using new keywords related to style and art. So when you stop being a product-centric approach to a customer-centric approach, you have so much more to offer to your customers, because you're forgetting about your product. You're just thinking about how to please and interact and engage your customers. And your customers they do not only use your product or your service, right? They are people. They're complex. They like a lot of things. They look for certain things. And if you can somehow connect those things, it really will help you to start the conversation and really get to know them, and use that for your product market fit. All right. So let's say you have all this, you know what kind of research you want to use. So the secret to getting clearly defined data is to begin with clearly defined goals. And so the first question you want to ask is your primary goal for this research study to improve product or a strategy, right? If your focus is product, so you might be thinking, okay, I need some tactical research techniques like usability testing, might be good for you. And so with these techniques, it's all about function, whether someone can complete a task, understands a product, or even can find certain features that you have there. If your goal is a strategy, for example, you may be more interested in exploratory research like interviews, right? Or observation or imagery interviews. And then if you had to choose what's more important, discovering who your customers are, what they do, or how they will react, this question tell us, okay, my goal is about segmentation and to find the audience and my target customer. I want to understand their behavior and I want to uncover that reactions. So that's what you should be asking. And how crucial are the numbers really, right? Because if you're looking for motivations and pain points and emotions, you'll want to design your research to be heavy on interviews and qualitative type of research. On the other hand, if you're asking the question, will this scale? Yeah, how I'm going to grow? Maybe a quantitative survey is better. But if you decide you need both, you have to design a very good tailor, a specific approach. because maybe you start with interviews and then you follow up the interviewees with some service later on. Depends. But it's important to ask these questions and also ask and think about the budget and time. But you want to focus on this, believe me, you don't want to focus in sales yet, because this is going to save you so much time down the road when you're selling. If you trust that, you're going to do so much better. So again, so once you work through the questions I just asked you, it's much easier to plan a research, and that's going to give you meaningful results. So once you can take action right away, you think, okay, if I know the difference between quantitative, the number, and qualitative, the stories are, let's start with the numbers. And, maybe you need to paint a picture of what your customers do as a whole. You can look at the website analytics and see exactly where people are spending their time on your site. But here's the thing. You can understand the what all day long, but if you don't know the why, you're not going to know how to solve their problem. So a lot of people who love numbers and analytics and all that, they say, but I have website, I have Google Analytics. Well, that's going to give you half of the story, but you really want a complete story, right? So enter qualitative research. Let's say your analytics show that people are spending a tremendous amount of time in a particular page of your website. That's awesome. So we use the interviews and behavioral observation to uncover the reasons, the opinions, the motivations that are driving your customer actions. And you want to make sure that you use the right methods that you need at the moment. So I want you to ask yourselves now, do we need the why? Do we need the what? And again, for those at the earliest stages, I 100% recommend start with the why, okay? However, I want to warn you to earliest stage of startup. Some of you might be way more ahead, but for those of you who are starting, not all feedback is created equal. And if you're going into market research, you're going to hear and see and uncover a lot of feedback. But the context for your customer feedback is always crucial. A piece of feedback that does not look relevant today might be good in 6 months down the line if you switch focus to different markets or business goals. So for example, if your next quarterly goal is to reduce churn, that the percentage of the subscribers that who cancel their recurring revenue subscription, you can then specifically look for feedback submitted by churned users, right? But usage frequency affects the value of someone's feedback. So feedback from customers who rarely use your SaaS can be weighted differently from those ones who use it daily. And the type of user, like is a free user, is a lead, is a paying user, also affects the feedback value to your business. So when you're looking at a piece of feedback or a feature request, you must know who it comes from. And that's why choosing the right participants is also very important. Is it someone who has to spend money trying to solve a problem or put a lot of time in it? Is it someone who would you hire to do the job for them? If you have a mix of users, where would you position them? And what are you doing to get to know them in every stage of the way? Okay, just important because you're gonna have, and this brings me to the next slide. You're gonna have a lot of feedback sometimes. Sometimes it's not requested, but it still is good. But if you are an early stage of startup in need of cash, you might be tempted to say yes and build new features to get more paying customers and get more promotions out there to get more sales. But that's not necessarily a good idea. To build a sustainable company, short-term revenue is not the business metric you should be targeting and measuring yourself against at the start, right? As a general rule, know that you can't please everyone, so you should not try to do so. And, in practical ways, this just means don't act upon every single feedback, such as I like, or I don't like this, or I want, or I don't want that. don't launch into developing a future just because somebody asks you to, right? Don't blindly accept customers who are a bad fit. And when you change the mindset from, oh, customers, I don't know how to talk to them, so to the question of how I'm owning the relationship with my customer, you also get to choose your customer. You also get to reject the ones that are a bad fit for you. So you want to have customers who pay you because they value what you're doing. And if you believe in your product, you're comfortable with that, with saying no sometimes, right? Anything else is going to lead you away from where you want to go. And so your product market fit works in both directions. Don't just accept anybody that comes your way. Learn to say no. You have to be assertive. And no to prospective customers who don't fit your vision or your values. And then as you grow your startup, you will get a lot of feature requests from your customers. But before you get ahead of yourself and flesh out a new go-to-market strategy, verify if they fit into your roadmap in the first place. Hence your goal at all times. If you have a map, if you have a vision, if you have a journey that you want to ride and walk, whatever, you need to think of those things. So when people are telling you what to do, you know when is the right time to accept or not. And you know how to own the good relationships that you need, not everyone. Okay? Any questions so far? Thanks, Allison. Awesome. Well, yes, be yourself. I love that. Yeah, definitely. So now the fun part. Okay, you know what kind of approach you need. You know that to get to your product market fit, you need a right research approach that will give you your target customer. And then how I find my participants to get my research approach started, right? So it doesn't matter how many people you talk to. If they aren't the right people, you'll get irrelevant information. So whether you're hiring a professional, doing it on your own, or using a tool that includes recruiting, there are dozens ways to find people to talk with. So it is entirely possible to do this on your own, the DIY style, but you can also turn to social media. You can reach out to your own network and ask your team to do the same. Sometimes all it takes is a post that says, do you shop for groceries online and want to make $50? That's all it takes. I'm going to give you a lot of examples about that, but some research tools, there are like Optimal Workshop, User Testing, User Zoom, and Scout. So those are a couple of tools that might help you to get your market research started, right? And then there are a lot of ways to start your product market fit research and findings. So if you want to review a simple landing page, you can use Unbounce or LaunchRock or Kickoff Lab. Like Unbounce, it's a landing platform that helps you convert more of your visitors into leads, sales, and customers with conversion intelligence. I don't know, Kickoff Labs, it's like super quick and easy to set up, and it's kind of refer a friend style to giveaways, sweepstakes, and product launches. So you get landing pages, lead forms, email marketing, and so on. If you want a clickable prototype for your app, I personally, and in my past startups research market, we have used Sketch and Figma, which is really good because they're free, they're so easy. You don't need to know a lot about technology. You just need to test. Sketch is kind of the design platform used by over, I think, 1 million people. They use it by freelancers to the world's largest teams. And it just really helps you to figure out your website or landing or app, and you can test it right away. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to take a lot of effort. You just need to know where the bottom should go. There's online ads if you want to find you Google ads, LinkedIn ads, Pinterest ads, Microsoft advertising, Reddit advertising, Amazon advertising, a lot of channels to put your ads. You also have different tools for different experiments if that's what you need. So if you're looking at your web traffic analysis and you're more advanced and you're looking at the numbers, so you have your crazy egg that is like what's hot, what's not, and to know what your web visitors are doing, which tools that they do heat maps, recordings, A/B testing. It's pretty cool. And then you have customer interviews. So you have user interviews because these get fast, targeted access to your diverse audience, and it has like 400,000 vetted professionals and consumers. So it's a really good channel. Talk to your users simply and consistently with CRM and automations to build an ongoing research habit, right? You have Craigslist, you have Amazon Mechanical Turk. It's a crowdsourcing marketplace that makes it easier for individuals and businesses to outsource their processes and jobs. You have 5-second test, another really cool one. And the Google Analytics, I mentioned it to you, but not everyone uses Google Trends. And Google Trends is really cool because it helps you with your SEO strategy. So I really recommend that one. All right. Okay. What else I can tell you from here? Yeah, I think there are many sources and ways to really get to that place where you know so well your marketing, your target persona. So this is being recorded, so you will have access to it. But I just wanted to show you with this that when people say, how do I do it? I always say there's so many ways to do it, right? So that is important to know that the resources are there. You just need to start doing it. And you don't need to overcomplicate it. You just need to start with one research approach, with one question, with your outcome, your goal, and ask as many people as possible. All right. So once you have all that, I'm going to give you some pro tips that will help you the message work. So first, and above all else, I can't emphasize this enough, tell a good story, right? Tell a good story is the secret weapon that brings your research to life. And it's going to build a great target customer, which is going to help you to build a great product market fit. Chart after chart won't impress anyone. You know, naturally persuasive and shareable stories leverage a number of psychological triggers. So the best ones, when your market research is done, how are you going to build a story in terms of the market persona is your story, the product market fit is another story. So go back to your objectives and walk through each question to save you an answer, and then answer each one, right? So put your rationale and story together. I go back to the Spotify example. So Spotify saw people were ready to pay a small fee for unlimited access to music legally, right? And so they didn't go into the market trying to take an existing music streaming services like Discovery Center Pandora or the more traditional pay per album structure of iTunes. They created a platform for people who wanted to listen to any album anytime by only paying one fee. So they identified a gap by doing market research and targeted the people in the research, which makes the complete difference. Rather than going and target everyone, they did the work. And so a Spotify value proposition, it positions the streaming service as offering access over ownership, you know, providing data-driven personalization and the opportunity for content unbundling. So let's say you nailed all this. Now what, right? So you need to convert your research into gold, like Spotify did. So in order to do that, you start to building your research and your answers through journey maps. And I just want to know if a customer persona is a real customer you serve constantly, yes or true or false. What do you think? You can answer their poll. And so once you have your market research, you understand the story, you understand the feedback, your outcome is what you're looking for, you're going to start to building your research, getting closer to your target customer, right? That almost is going to give you your product market fit. And most of you say true. All right, so you're saying true, that it's a customer persona, it's a real customer. All right, well, no, it's false. It's not a real customer, okay? It's not a real customer. A customer persona is a character, okay, that translate customer research into a person that you can connect with, market to, and design for. So it's very different. It's not one persona. It's based on what you did. It's what you're gonna give you your product market fit, because it helps you to remember the research without having to look it up and say, okay, this is all the traits, this is everything I found. Building a customer persona will help you say, okay, these are the traits that I have to target. This is how I'm going to feed this product to this persona that is a bunch of characters based on your research. Okay, so it's really helpful to build this. It conveys how audience segments interact with your brand differently, and just 3 quick kind of bulleted lists for how they interact with you, and what you found in your research, what they want, what they're anxious about, what the questions they have, and if you consider a new product. All of this have a role play, right? So it's that role play that helps you to imagine easier how your product market fit is going to be built. Because in a crowded, noisy marketing world, you want to have a persona to go to help you with the marketing research, with the marketing strategy, with everything else, right? So I just added an example here. This is based on or research of many people, but once you start looking at the trends, you see, oh, okay, this person it's a female, most likely my market is female, and it has certain income, and it's in these countries located, and this is what she likes, this is what she's suffering from, this is what she's going through. But it's not one person. This is a lot of people. That's my trending, right? That's what I found from my research approach. So I just wanted to give you another example, right? So Uber, I hope you all know Uber. Uber captured the product market fit by initially offering free rides between regional tech events in San Francisco. They didn't target everyone. They didn't start big. They started by testing what happened if they were offering free rides between events in Tech Hub, right? And the Uber's co-founders recognized that the taxi system was expensive and outdated and few people used it. So once Uber app gained steam, Uber offered 50% discounts for first-time users. So what they did, they started by looking at these free riders, they started to building a persona. What kind of people will use this and why they're using it, right? And so experts point to Uber's ability to solve a problem and create a need at the same time. So consumers weren't demanding better taxi service. No one was saying that. But once a more convenient, simpler option emerged, users began to rely on the concept. So sometimes it's not obvious, right? The network effect kicked in and users began sharing their experience on social media, providing social proof of the startup. We go back to what happens when the product market fit happens, is when people start talking about it. And so now Uber has about 93 million riders, and the company recorded 4.98 billion rides in 2020 alone. So my point with this slide is, in most cases, the product market fit doesn't happen on the first try. And I see a lot of discouraged entrepreneurs, but don't, because it doesn't happen in one day. You likely test and adjust and test and adjust your product or service several times before you find the perfect combination of value proposition, customer base, and distribution. So continually experimenting based upon the feedback from your audience, tweak your concept if your data indicates it, and be prepared to pivot if necessary. But start with testing, right? Start with with what you need the most. Okay, so when you achieve product market fit, your job will become much easier because your customers and other interested parties will become a significant part of your marketing effort. So they'll share their own stories with others. So you can focus on the work of creating the same great experience from everyone who interacts with your company. Okay. So another point of the market research you're going to have as a result is the journey map. It just kind of includes every touch point, even if it doesn't seem significant, and it looks like this. So you want to know what is that you're doing, what is that your customers are saying in every single stage of the journey that they have. All right. So I know I don't have a lot of time for questions, but I hope that this has helped you a little bit. I want you to think, what is the next business or product decision that you need to make? And then what do I need to know at this moment about my customer? Think about that. And in the meantime, we are going to share our survey for this workshop. We want to hear from you. So go ahead over the chat, click on the survey. I have a couple of minutes to answer questions. If anyone has any burning question, of course, you can always contact us and chat more with us. But if you have one burning question, feel free to put it over the chat or to unmute yourselves, whatever works for you. I'm happy to answer for the last 4 minutes while the rest of you answer the survey. Thank you, Brayden. Okay, Melanie, the Eventbrite website was down. I couldn't join till late. Will recording be available? Correct. We really apologize about that. I know things happen, right? Just right before the workshop started, we had a problem with Eventbrite. So Alana will upload the workshop and we'll let you know when it's up, so you can really make sure you have the opportunity to watch it. Okay. Awesome. Any other questions, doubts, comments, feedback? Everything is welcome here. Thank you for the kind feedback. I don't see any other questions, so I would say I hope that you all answer the survey. It's really, really important for us, your feedback. And if you want to hear more about the workshops or another innovation cluster workshop, let us know. You can contact Alana or us or me. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us, and talk to you later. Bye-bye. Take care.